What's up, you guys? This is Jay Youngo2 back with another video. And if you saw the title and thumbnail, of course, you know we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls. And there's been many people out there, of course, talking about the Bulls and the media. Everybody's talking about the Chicago Bulls. Some people are saying they should blow it up. Some people are saying that many decisions were mistakes. Some people are saying many things. Trade DeMar DeRozan, trade Zach LaVine. I've heard many things about the Bulls and many valid reasons about the Chicago Bulls. And, you know, I haven't watched every single game the Bulls have played this season, but I have watched several games. And obviously the one last night was very like a whirlwind of emotions in that game. Fortunately, of course, they lost. But when you look at the Chicago Bulls season overall, right now, they are 8-11, below 500 compared to last year. You know, last year they got off to a really good start, and at one point they were one of the best teams, I believe, going into the All-Star break in the entire Eastern Conference. I mean, freaking DeMar DeRozan was in contention to win MVP. There was many bright reasons to be kind of somewhat optimistic for the Chicago Bulls. And the thing is, this season alone, I don't really think the Bulls should necessarily make any huge trades, but the only person I think they should trade is Nikola Vucevic. And that's only really because it's not that Nikola Vucevic is a bad player, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he's the greatest fit on this team because they don't need him on this team, to be honest. The Bulls, they're not really a great defensive team at all. We all know this. I mean, and especially since Lonzo Ball has been out, and we'll talk about him in a little while, but especially since he's been out, you know, they've pretty much heavily rely more on Javonte Green and Alex Caruso, and that's not necessarily going to help you win a lot of games because, let's be real, Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan themselves aren't great defenders either. So that whole, well, I wouldn't say it's a big three, it's just a dynamic duo of DeMar and Zach. But the thing is, Zach LaVine, he hasn't really been 100% this year, and we all know that reason because he's just not really fully healthy. His knees aren't really that great either. He's not fully healthy. DeMar DeRozan, I mean, he's doing his thing. He was averaging, I believe, 26 points a game, and Zach 21. But Nikola Vucevic, who they traded for at the time, who was an all-star level player, you know, he was supposed to be that guy for them. And, you know, there was some optimistic, but many of us already had this question coming in when they did trade for him. They know that he wasn't the greatest defender. Yeah, he was a pretty good, solid rebounder, and a great, you know, overall offensive player for a center. Pretty good post threat as well. But defensively wise, he really wasn't going to bring much of value for this team. You know, and in a way, that's why they have Patrick Williams as well on the team as well. And that could have been another really big help for them. But he's still a growing player. He's still not even reached his full potential. But for Vucevic, they don't really need him, I believe, on this team because they need a better, solid defensive threat, lob threat type center. They don't really need a guy that necessarily has to space the floor. And they don't need someone like him who isn't as well a great defender. They need somebody who can protect the rim, somebody that can really block shots, get great boards, catch lobs. I think they need more of a center like that. Like, a good example is Clint Capella. I think that's a great example of a guy who type of player that they would actually need on their team to really compete at the highest level. Even freaking Steven Adams would be a better player than Nikola Vucevic on the Chicago Bulls team. But not only that, for this Bulls team, let's also just be real. When we look at their numbers across the Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic don't even play well together while they're on the court. I think the reason why for this, yes, I'm going to continue to say, even though we don't know how good he will be come back, and it's not that he's going to save the entire world for this team, but I believe that, you know, Lonzo Ball is a huge contributor for this team. I think he's a guy that really does make everything really work because he's an all-around player. He can shoot pretty decent now. He's a solid shooter. He can defend at a very high level. He's a great transition player. He's a great playmaker. He brought all those pieces to the Chicago Bulls team, and when they were winning all of these games, I believe he was healthy during that time, and he was part of that team. And of course, he got hurt towards the after the All-Star break on that stuff, and he missed the rest of the year. But when he was playing, this guy was one of the most key contributors for the Chicago Bulls team. The roster really isn't a true issue for this team, but for right now, looking at players like Nikola Vucevic, I just don't really think that it's going to really work. That's why they shouldn't have got rid of Wendell Carter Jr. because now if you look at him, he's playing really well. And that could be due to as well playing with Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine was more of in a winning stage now of his NBA career. And having guys like him come in with Wendell Carter Jr. on the team, it really wasn't the greatest fit. And for him now going to the Magic, a very younger team, a developing team as well, we've really seen his game actually grow with time. He would have been still a great player on this team, but that's the guy who they traded for, Vucevic, to begin with in the first place. But not only that, I think Billy Donovan as well needs to be held accountable as well, as we all know, because some of these lineups that he's gone in, he's had really bad rotations. He's not really making the right plays. And a lot of times it's really just DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine both doing ISO plays. I mean, at the end of the game, I believe for the Thunder, right? That's what they were doing. They're doing a bunch of isolation plays. And what they were doing for that whole game really was moving the ball around, getting everybody involved. And that was pretty much cut off towards the end, getting those two guys just to isolation looks. And don't get me wrong, DeMar DeRozan is a great isolation player. I mean, we all know what he can do with the mid-range. And Zach LaVine isn't that bad either. But the thing is, they reminded me a lot of the Celtics in the past. With Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they relied so heavily on them with isolation plays. And that's why we talk so bad about the Celtics. But look at them now. They have the right formula, and now they're the most complete team in basketball. For the Chicago Bulls to become the most complete team in basketball, they need to have all their pieces clicking together. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine both don't have to be isolating on every single play. They can't create any offense, and a lot of that, I believe, has to be held on Billy Donovan. See the difference last year as well? I mean, I'm going to bring his name up again, Lonzo. I'm just going to bring him up again. He was he played with a higher tempo. He played with fast pace. He usually brought the ball up around the court, throw half court passes. He does all kind of crazy things, but he gets the guys more involved on the offensive end. Compared that to Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, I mean, these two guys are the leaders of the team, best two players on the team, but they don't have all the right pieces around them to really make things really work right now. Ayo Dosunmu, I mean, I'm going to give him props because he has played good without Lonzo Ball being there. But let's be real. When it comes to shooting, the Bulls need better shooting as well. He's not really a shooting type of player. He's more of a slasher. Him and Patrick Williams are both still really developing young players in the league, and they still have a lot more room to really grow within their games. And the thing is, it's easy to look at the perspective of the Bulls as if, they are pretty much, this is their team. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, he's up in age. I mean, Zach LaVine, he's 27 years old. He's only getting older as well, in the midst of his prime especially. And as well with Nikola Vucevic, who I believe is, 30 now? So all these guys, they're up there. And the thing is, they made a lot of sacrifices so they can build a great team around Zach LaVine. And the reality is that, I think in all honesty, let's be real, the Bulls were always just going to be another team out there. Let's be real. I don't think nobody ever really saw them ever being a championship level team. They're just always going to be a team that's out there, pretty much. Sure, they can possibly make it to the second round, maybe even get lucky and make it to the conference finals one year. But other than that, this is their team. This is what they're going to have. And it's like really, they just built a team that was just good enough for the playoffs. Not a team that was a championship level team, but a team that was just strictly good enough to make the playoffs. And that's no disrespect because they have had a playoff drought. And the last time the Bulls were really taken seriously, let's be real, was when Derrick Rose was on the team and they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. That was really the last time the Bulls were really ever taken seriously as a basketball team. And looking at them now, they traded away many of their young assets on their team. They traded away many guys, but in the end, they still made it work. They got Zach LaVine and they tried to build the best team around him. DeMar DeRozan, props to him. He's really rejuvenated his NBA career playing for the Bulls. Many guys have, but this team, even Lonzo Ball, I think, he's just a key to really making everything work. But there's still no excuse for him and Zach LaVine both to still be playing like this. And a lot of it, like I said, as well has to do with Billy Donovan. I don't think the guys like him really on the team anyway. And I think a new coaching could be good as well. And trading Nikola Vucevic. I just don't think that the fit with him really is going to really work at all. he is an offensive, more minded center. He's not really a great defender, and they need somebody who can get rebounds, get offensive rebounds. I mean, that's why they got Andre Drummond on the team as well, and they need to play him a lot more, in my opinion, personally. He's not the greatest player, but they just need somebody who can do more of that compared to Vucevic. Vucevic is more like a power forward than even a center, in my opinion, personally. But yeah, that's what, in my opinion, personally, on my take about Chicago Bulls. It's not a full perspective because, like I said, I haven't watched every single game they played this year. But obviously, I keep up with the news and I know a lot about the Bulls. And I've always loved talking about this team, especially when they first came around. But I think now, with everything that's going on, it's very important that they really do make changes in trading basically Nikola Vucevic and hiring a new head coach, because Billy Donovan, man, let's be real, these lineups, the rotations, not everything, even with these small lineups that they've had, it's not really helped this team a lot, really, to win. So I think that's really the key for him, and maybe it could be he just doesn't know how to utilize these players properly, and that's really the key of it all. But yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this brief video today. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more basketball content each and every single week. Have a great day. Peace.